Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content, and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and today we're going to be having another playthrough. Today I'll be playing through this game right here, Patchwork, designed by Uwe Rosenberg and published by Lookout Games. This is a two-player only polyomino tile placement game. But today I'll be playing particularly the solo mode, which is from this official Automa solo variant expansion, which is a little hard to find. I did have to buy mine on BoardGameGeek.com, the geek market there, from a user. It was brand new, however. And basically, what this expansion does, it adds some cards which will determine the decisions made by the Automa. It actually comes with 24 cards. You either pick the regular stack of 12 or the tactical stack of 12. I chose to play with the regular. You shuffle them up, and this is how the AI player will be taking their decisions. This is what the game looks like set up, regardless of whether you're playing a two-player game or a solo game. You have the main board, which is the time board, which will advance and basically determine the end of the game. The game ends when both player markers advance all the way to this center patch right here. We also take all the polyomino shaped tiles, the Tetris-like pieces, and we arrange them randomly in a circle around the board. We find the most basic, simple tile, which is this one right here, which is just a straight rectangular two-space tile, and we place this moving pawn right after it clockwise. And this pawn will determine which patches are available for purchase from the players. The economy in this game is a button economy. The buttons are your currency. Starting players each get 5 buttons to start the game. The dummy player, in this case, will not get any money. Each player also gets their quilt board, which is where they'll be placing their tiles in order to try to cover up as many spaces as possible. Again, the dummy player will not have a quilt board. Every time the dummy player acquires a tile, they'll just place it on their stash in 2 separate stacks based on whether or not that tile has buttons on it. And by the way, these buttons will accumulate and determine how much money a player earns every time they cross one of these button thresholds on the time track. All right, so without any further ado, we're going to start the game. The human player in the solo mode always goes first. So you have 2 choices on your turn. You could either pass and move your player piece until you're exactly 1 spot ahead of your opponent. And for every space that you jumped ahead, you will earn 1 button from the supply. So for example, if I wanted to, I could go here to be exactly 1 space ahead of the dummy player. But since I only jumped 1 space, I would only earn 1 button. So I'm not going to do that. So again, that's one of 2 choices. You can either pass, jump the opponent, because whoever is furthest back on this track will always be the active player. So there are situations where you could take multiple turns in a row. The other option the player could take is to purchase one of the patches, one of the polyomino shaped tiles right here. And the way it works is you look at this player piece, this pawn right here, and you count the next 3 tiles clockwise, and those are the ones that are available for purchase on that turn. So right now I have 1, 2, and 3. And 2 of these I cannot even afford because they cost 7 and 8 buttons respectively, and I only have 5 buttons to start the game. So instead, I'm going to spend exactly 2 buttons to acquire this tile right here, which, as you can see here, costs 2 buttons. But it has a button symbol on it, which means every time I cross one of those button thresholds on the timer board, the time track, I will collect economy or money, income, equal to the amount of total buttons on my quilt board. However, you see this sand timer right here. It says 3 and it has the image of a sand timer. This means that when I acquire this, I have to advance my player piece, 3 spots on the time track. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. And again, whenever you cross these thresholds for whatever action you choose to take, that will trigger income and you will earn buttons equal to the amount you have on your board. So I can place this anywhere on the board as long as I don't move something that's already there. And I'm just going to place it right here. Also, a very important thing to note is that the first person to create a perfect 7x7 grid, the quilt board itself is 9x9, the first person to complete a 7x7 grid earns this special token, which gives them 7 buttons, which, by the way, at the end of the game, your buttons, the amount you have in your supply, not on your board, are your final score. And of course, you'll subtract any empty spaces you have on the board. All right, so there we go. We've got that there. I'm done with my turn. I advanced 3 spaces. Now, what does the dummy player's turn look like? So we take this shuffle deck of Automa cards, and we draw the top one right here. So on the top here, first of all, we see how much money the dummy player has, or how much buttons they have available to purchase tiles. Because the dummy player does not actually spend buttons on their turn. They will be accumulating buttons throughout the game, but they will not be spending them to acquire tiles. Instead, how much they can afford is dependent on the current card they drew that turn. In this case, 0. And there are a few tiles throughout the game that are for free. On the center part of this card here, you would see their preferences, right? In order to determine which cards they would prefer over another during that current turn. In this case, there is nothing here. This is just a barcode for the game's purposes, for legal purposes. Here on the bottom right-hand corner, you see how much money they would generate, how much buttons they would generate if on the current turn they happen to cross one of those button thresholds that triggers some income. So in this case, they would get 5 buttons on that turn. So look, we're going to look clockwise at the next 3. None of them happen to be for free. So what happens is when the dummy player cannot afford anything, they have no other choice but to pass, and they will move and jump accordingly. According to the rules, they do not earn income for passing. The only time the dummy player earns income is when they cross those thresholds. A very important thing that I forgot to note was the fact that you could change the difficulty of this game based on where you put a button here towards the end of the game right here. I have this on the last spot before the end of the game. This is the easiest mode. If the dummy player makes it to this threshold before I can complete my 7x7 grid, the dummy player will earn this 7-point bonus token. And there are different ways of varying the difficulty. You can put this closer to the beginning of the game, and the closer you bring it, the more difficult the game is, and the more likely that the dummy player will earn this 7-button token before you do, before you complete your 7x7 grid. Okay, so there's that. So the dummy player is done with their turn. They jumped ahead of me by 1. And now it's my turn again. I have 2 choices. Again, I could just jump over him. That would get me 2 coins or 2 buttons because I would jump 2 spaces. Also, it would trigger in some income because I crossed that threshold. But right now, I only have 1 button, so I do not generate lots of income. So let me see if I could afford any of the next 3 spaces. I cannot. All of the next 3 tiles are worth 6 or more buttons, and I only have 3. So I have no choice but to jump ahead of him. That's going to earn me 2 buttons, plus I'll earn a 3rd button for crossing that button threshold. And I have 1 button on my quilt board, so that gets me this additional button. All right, and now we're done. Now it's the dummy player's turn. We flip over the top card, and now they have 5 buttons to work with. And if you look at the next 3, unfortunately for the dummy player, none of them are worth 5 or less. So again, they're in a position where they cannot afford any. So they're going to jump. They have no choice but to jump ahead of me, which again is 2 spots. They don't earn any money for doing so, but they did cross one of these thresholds. And we look at their card right here, and this says that if they earn button income on this turn, they earn exactly 1 button. So we grab this 1 button from the supply and add it to the dummy player supply. All right, now we proceed with my turn, and now I finally can afford something. I can afford this square tile right here, which costs 6 buttons, which is exactly how much I have. So I spend the 6 right there. I advance this piece to the place where I just drew the tile, right? I just bought the tile and it was on this spot right here. So this piece is advanced, which means it's going to progress clockwise and open up new opportunities for acquiring tiles later on. And I'm going to get this, and I can place this anywhere on my quilt. but I must advance myself 5 on the timer track. So I'm going to just do something like this. Maybe I'll do something like this. Hopefully I have lots of opportunities for filling these spots here. So there we go. So I got to advance 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just short of collecting income. All right. Now it's the dummy player's turn again. We've got this one. So the dummy player can afford almost anything. There are very few tiles that cost more than 8 buttons here. So we've got 3 tiles here. So when the dummy player can afford more than one of the tiles, we look at the center of this card here to see their priority. And here we have the top option. The dummy player is going to prefer the tile, in this case, that has the most spaces or covers the most spaces. This here covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. This covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces as well. So these both cover the same amount of spaces. So when there's a tie, we're going to look at the next thing on the list of priorities, and it's the tile that has the most buttons on it. This one only has 1 button on it, and this one has 2. So the dummy player is going to prefer this one. So the dummy player will acquire this. We'll just start a stack right here of tiles that have buttons on it. We're going to advance this pawn over here to the space that was occupied previously by that tile. And now we're going to advance the dummy player 3 on the time track, because that's how much time this tile here costs. 1, 2, 3. And now we're done. And guess what? It is the dummy player's turn. It's one of those occasions where a player will get to go twice in a row because they're still behind the other player on the time track. So we'll flip this up here. And now the dummy player has 10 buttons to work with. So they could afford anything. I think the most expensive tile in the game is worth 10. So the first thing we're going to look for is the dummy player is going to want, in this case, the tile that has the most buttons on it. And this is clear that it's this one right here. It has 3 buttons on it. It costs exactly 10, which is how much money they have. So they'll grab that one. And it costs, let's make sure here, 4 times. So we'll advance this, we'll advance them 4 in the timer. We'll place the pawn over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They cross the threshold. And according to this card, they're going to earn no money on this turn. Too bad for them. All right. Now we proceed to my turn. And let's see. I have no money, which is terrible. None of these are for free. So I'm going to have no choice but to jump ahead of the dummy player. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to earn 4 buttons for jumping ahead of it. But I also crossed one of these thresholds. And I have 3 buttons on my quilt board. So that's an additional 3 buttons I will earn. All right. Now it's the dummy player's turn again. We'll look at this card. They have exactly 1 button to spend. And only one of these tiles costs 1 or less. So we can disregard what the rest of the card says. We'll acquire this one for 1 4 times. So let's advance it 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That triggers some income, which according to this card, they're going to earn 4 buttons for income right now. So that's 4 more buttons. I'm going to grab this 5 here and put this 1 back. So the dummy player is actually looking pretty good. Okay, now it's my turn. The pawn is moved just 1 spot ahead. And let's see what I want over here. I think I'm going to get this one. This actually works very well for me. It costs 4 money. So I'm going to spend 4 money. I'm going to move the piece over here. And these are double-sided, so you can flip them up and flip them around, orient them to your advantage. And I'm going to place it right here. It fits perfectly right there. Okay. And that costs 2 times, so I'll advance it 2 spots on the time track. 1, 2. And I get to go yet again. And I still have 3 money to spare. And I could afford this perfectly. So I'm going to grab this. This costs 3 money. And I'm going to place it right here. And that advances me 1. And in this case, I cross the button. So I collect some income. I have 4 buttons on my board. So I'm going to collect all 4 of those. And guess what, folks? I go again, because if you and the player, your opponent, are on the same spot on the time track, the player on top is the active player. So I will go again. We advance this over here. I have exactly 4 money to spare, so I could afford these two. Some tough decisions to be made right here. Some tough decisions. I think this one costs 1, and these both cost 1, but this costs a lot of time. Will it be worth it? You know what? Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get this one here for 1. Yeah. For 1 money, I'm going to spend 1 money, but I'm going to spend 5 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So we're done with that. Now it's the dummy player's turn again. They have 10 money to spare. Oh, let me advance. I forgot to advance that piece right there. They have 10 money to spare, which means they could afford any of these. They're going to go for the tile that has the most buttons on it. And that is clearly just one of them. This is the only one that has buttons on it. So they will get this one here. That advances them 3 on the time track. And now we will flip over the next one here. Right here. Oh, that was over here. Here we go. Here we go. So now they have this one here. And this one here gives them 2 money. They have 2 money. Or did I advance that? I think I did advance that. I'm sorry, folks. I'm losing my mind. All right, they have 2 money here, 2 buttons. And all 3 of these cost 2 or less buttons. So we're going to look for this one. Now, this is a very particular symbol to look out for. This means they're going to prefer the tile that costs just enough time that they're still not ahead of the opponent. So in this case, this would advance you 2 time, which means they would not be ahead of the opponent. This would also advance you 2 time, and this one here. So they're all the same amount of time. So that is not going to work. So let's look for the tiebreaker, the next on the list. They're going to go for the tile that has the most buttons on it. Well, guess what? All 3 of them have no buttons on it. So then finally, we're going to look at this one here, and this says they're going to go for the tile that's furthest away from the pawn piece. So in that case, they're going to go for this one right here. That costs them 2 time. They will advance 2 on the time track. And now it's their turn again, because again, if 2 players share the same space, the player on the top has priority. So now for the current turn, they have 7 money to spare, which means they could afford 2 out of the next 3 tiles. They're going to break the tie towards the tile that has the most buttons on it. These both have exactly 2 buttons on it, so that's irrelevant. We're going to look at the next one. The tile that covers the most spaces. This one here covers 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. This one here covers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So it's clearly this one right here. And in this case, they're going to advance on the time track 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they've acquired this little good here, these little single patches. If you cross them, they're on certain spots of the board. These are very helpful to fill out certain spots on your board with just single ones. They acquired that one, and they also crossed a threshold for income, which according to the card, they generate 0 income on this turn. So that's too bad for them. All right, so finally, it's my turn yet again. And we are going to, let's see, I've got some options here. I've got 3 money. So I think I'm going to grab this one right here, advance this here. I'm going to spend exactly 3 money for this. Does it fit well there? I'm going to do this. Ooh, hopefully I have options with this. All right, that is what I'll do. Whew, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough, folks. I might need a miracle for this one here. This one would be very helpful for that. Very, very helpful. Let's see what we could do. I don't think I'm going to complete that 7x7. All right, so there's that. That gives me, that was 3 time, and it was 2 spaces. I'm sorry, 3 buttons and 2 spaces in the time track. 1, 2. I generate income according to the buttons on my board. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will generate 6 money. And I'm still the active player because the dummy player is still ahead of me. So I got these 3 to choose from. This one, ooh, that would have been great before. That would have been great before. What have I done? Okay, how about this one here? This is tough, folks. This is tough. You know what? This wouldn't be that bad. This would not. No, it would be. It doesn't fit. Okay, so, you know what? I am going to go. I have 6 money. 4 times 6. I'm going to go at this one right here. This costs 3 money. I'm going to spend these 5, get 2 back. And I'm just going to place this right here. And I advance 4 spots on the time track. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it's the dummy player's turn. We flip over the top card. They have 8 buttons to spare for this turn. And they could afford all 3 of this. So first they're going to look for the tile that has the most buttons on it. And in that case, it is this one right here, which means that they must advance 6 on the time track. 1, 2, 3, 4. They collect one of these again. 5 and 6. All right. 1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They cross the threshold. They earn income equal to the amount on the card, which is 0. Too bad for them. And now we proceed to my turn yet again. So let's see what I could do here. I have 3 money. I could afford this one, and I'm going to go for that one. Absolutely. This costs 2 money. And it fits this really important spot and tough spot to fill in right there. And it only advances me 1 on the time track. So at some point I had switched because I was green and he was yellow. Sorry about that, folks. We were at the same spot at one point and I kept on going. All right. So now I go yet again. I have 1 money, which is not going to be enough. So, because none of these cost 1 or less. So I'm going to have to jump a lot of spots, which I actually did not want to do. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to collect 8 money. 8 money. Man, how did this person jump so far ahead of me? I'm starting to wonder if I did something wrong. I must have done something wrong, folks. All right, so I'm jumping 8 money. And I crossed 2 thresholds there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to get another 7 money. If I win this game, folks, there's an asterisk, I imagine, coming with it. All right, so now it's the dummy player's turn. We're going to flip this card right here. And, I mean, they advanced 6 spots, but it looks like... you know what it was? All right, I figured it out. I didn't switch them. I was right. They would have been here, and they would have advanced 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That makes more sense. Okay, I'm sorry, folks. So let's just rewind that. Forgive me for all this. And then I would have been here. I would have only crossed 1 threshold. So let me put some of that money I just earned, 7 of those buttons right back. And I would have just advanced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 6 and 7 earlier. So I'm going to put an additional 2 buttons back. My math might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I put the money I was supposed to put back accurately. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Got confused with the different colors there. All right, so now it's the dummy player's turn, and they've got 4 money to spare according to this card, and none of these cost 4, so they're going to have to pass, and they will jump ahead of me 1, 2 spots. They don't earn any money. And now it is my turn yet again. I have 7 money. I could afford 2 out of these. And you know what? Nope. I'm going to spend all 7 to acquire this one here. And I'm going to place it right here. This is a very convenient spot. And that advances me exactly 1 on the time track. So I go yet again. So that was all the way over here. And now I have no money, so I cannot afford any of these spots. So instead, I'm going to just pass. I'm going to jump ahead of the dummy player. I moved exactly 1 spot. So that collects me 1 button. I also pass one of these button thresholds. So I will trigger some income. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 buttons on my quilt board. So I'll acquire 8 more buttons. And we're done with my turn. Now we'll go to the dummy player's turn, and they have 6 buttons to spend on this current turn. They can afford all three of the next tiles. They're going to prefer the tile that costs just enough time so that they don't surpass me on the time track, which in this case is none of them. These will all surpass me on the time track. So now we're going to look for the tile that covers the most spaces, and that is clearly this one right here. They're going to get that, and they're going to advance 3 on the time track. 1, 2, and 3. Now it is my turn, and I really see what I want to do here. I'm trying to get that 7x7 grid, and I'm working my way. I'm very close vertically, but I need a little bit more help horizontally. So I have 9 money to spare. These are the next 3 tiles available to me. I think I'm gonna acquire this one. Hopefully try to go twice in a row. This one here for 4. I'm gonna spend 4 for that one. And it advances me 2 in the time track, which means I'm on top of this player. I still go again. And I still have 5 money to spare. And that tile, I believe, was right here. I should do that immediately. So there was that. And now I'm looking at these next 3 right here. And I could afford 2 of them. I think, yeah, you know what? That's actually a pretty good one. It's going to help me a little bit. Okay, I'm going to spend 1 to acquire this one here, which advances me 2 in the time track. 1 and 2. I get to collect this patch, which I have to place down immediately. I'm going to place it right here. And I'm going to place this one right here. And I'm very close to my 7x7 grid, folks. Let's see if I can do it before this player gets, the dummy player gets to the second to last spot there. All right, so we're done with that. I didn't trigger any income. It's the dummy player's turn. And they've got this. They have 3 money available for the current turn, which allows them only 1 tile right here that they could afford. They're going to advance 2 in the time track. 1, 2. And they're done. And now I'm just going to, in the meantime, before I start my next turn, I'm going to shuffle the dummy players. That's it. They've taken their 12 turns, which are the 12 cards. When you run out of the cards, you shuffle the discard pile. All right, so now it's my turn. And I have a few options here. I have 4 money. I could afford these 2 outer ones here. But this one here will advance me 6 in the time track. This one only 3. So these are some tough decisions. Which one would be most, you know what? I think this one here would be very helpful. If I advance 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would get that. That's not bad. So I'm going to spend 4 right here to get this one right here. I will place it here. It advances me 6 in the time track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This button here, I actually use in place of these. I've lost some of these. So I'm going to use this to place in any empty spot, which I'll place right there. And I crossed a income threshold. So I'm going to count my buttons. 1, 2, 3. This is not a button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I earned 10 money right there. And I am very... Oh, I think I've got my 7x7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. Folks, that extra little patch right here, that single patch, helped me complete my 7x7 grid, which allows me to earn this 7 button token right there. All right, and I'm done. Now it's the dummy player's turn. They're going to have 8 coins available for this current turn, and they can afford one of these 2 right here. So they're going to aim for the one that covers the most spaces, which is this one right here. This advances them 6 spots in the timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They crossed a income threshold, but unfortunately, thanks to this card, they earn no money. And now it is my turn. All right, so let's see what options I have available. We're getting to the final countdown here. I have 10 money right here. I want to occupy some spots. So you know what? I'm going to spend 2. Let me get some change back here to acquire this one here, which is 2 times. So I advance 2 spots in the time track. 1, 2. It's the dummy player's turn again. They have 5 money available. They can afford any of these 3. So they're going to prefer the tile that advances them enough in the time track, but not enough to surpass me. So all of these are going to surpass me. Actually, no, this one will not. So they'll get this one. They'll only go one spot. So it's still their turn. And here we go. Now they have 2 money to spare. And the piece is right here. Sorry about that. And they can only afford with 2 money this piece right here. And that advances them 2 more spaces on the time track. And that triggers some income. And according to this card, they earned 4 income on this turn. So let me get them 4 more buttons. Okay. And now it is my turn yet again. And let's see what I could afford here. That's not bad for 5 money. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 5 money to get this one right here. I'm going to place it right there. And that advances me 5 on the time track. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, I used one of these buttons in place of these little single patches. I'll grab this. I could put it anywhere I want on the board. I'm just going to place it right. I'm going to place it right here. Okay. And we're done with that. Now I will advance. Oh no, let me collect some income. I did cross one of the thresholds here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 buttons on my quilt board. So I earned 12 buttons of income. It's the dummy player's turn. They have 0 money available this turn. So let's see. None of these things cost 0. So they're going to have to skip and jump right past me. They did cross a threshold right there, which allows them to get 5 money. Were they right past me? I guess so. Let me just give them 5 money. Now they're going to be the ones with the asterisk. All right, now it is my turn. This might be my very likely will be my last turn. And I'm going to spend 1 money to grab this piece right here and place it right there. That advances me 3 on the time track. 1, 2, 3. I complete the game. I get to place this anywhere. I'll just place it right here. I trigger income. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on the board again. So I collect 12 buttons. And now we're waiting for the dummy player to complete the game. And they have 6 buttons available for this turn. These are the 3 tiles available. They're going to prefer the tile that doesn't surpass me. That's irrelevant at this point. So now they're going to go to the tile that has the most, covers the most space. And that would be this one right here. And that advances them 3 in the time track, which is more than enough to go here. They trigger income. According to the card, they get no buttons on this turn. And the game is over, folks. And now we count our points. So first of all, the regular human player, as in a regular competitive game, counts all their buttons. I have 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. I subtract the empty spots on the board. 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22 points. Now the dummy player is going to add their money right here, which is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus the money on their tiles here, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30 to 22. So the dummy player still found a way to get it done. And that's pretty much it, folks. That's how you play the game. Patchwork, fun game competitively, fun game solo. If you like this type of game, puzzly, tile placement, this might be a game for you. Thank you so much for joining us here at When Harry Met Board Games. This is Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.